Welcome back to the lunch table, food for thought. I'm Nico Blitz. You already know where to hit that subscribe button, man. Shout out to my next guest, Bradley Denniston.
Yeah, what's going on, man?
Thanks
for having me.
You have like a crazy catalog worth of stuff.
It's
a little bit too much to where I'm just like, okay, I kind of just want to like read it down the list, right?
Yeah.
This is what the email says. Multi-instrumentalist who has worked on blockbuster movies. You know what I mean? And he's also worked with platinum-selling artists like The Lonely Island, Gotye, Tegan and Sara, and also, Young Gerald. Shout out to G-Eazy, Bay Area.
G-Eazy,
Also has his own business, Radium Media.
Right.
And produced and composed original music for Netflix original series Abstract, The Art of Design.
Yeah.
And also Netflix's original anime series Cannon Busters from the Boondocks producer, man.
Yeah, that's the newest one.
That's a lot, man.
That's the fresh stuff. But they forgot all the big stuff, like the Lego movie, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Ooh!
Yeah.
You did Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and the Lego movie.
I worked on that extensively on the music. And also, let's see, I mean, the list goes on. 22 Jump Street.
Oh, that's one of my favorite movies, man. And do you know what
that was
scene
a
I'm
really fun one to
It was
work
fun,
on.
man.
That was super dope.
The best scene from that movie, which is so iconic, is when he was doing the slam poetry.
Oh, yeah.
You're dead.
Yeah.
You're dead. Like that is so memeable, man.
That show was amazing. I mean, working on it is the best, right? Because you're just like having so much fun with it. You get to watch all the stuff that got cut out that was like really funny shit, But they just couldn't put it in the movie because they're like, dude, we got to have pacing and we got to have, have a blockbuster movie. So they cut out all this stuff. And Thor Ragnarok as well. Like,
ooh,
when I was working on that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like you get to see the very first cut and you're like, wow, this is hilarious. Because, of course, like most of it's green screen at the time, and they're like in spandex and they're, fighting nothing. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, this is funny as hell. And like the jokes in there were just so good. And Taika, the director of that film, he's a New Zealander, but his sense of humor is like super dry.
Got you.
Super funny shit.
I could kind of see that with Thor.
Yeah. Yeah. They did a great job with it.
They did an excellent job. So then your job in particular, you work on all the soundscaping?
It's
like
music
the
mainly.
Foley?
So when I was working with, when I first came down to LA from the Bay, actually.
Oh, you're from the Bay?
I mean, I was living there for 3.5 years.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
So not from the Bay, but I went to school there for sound at Expression Digital Arts. It's like now SAE.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Like the private, spend $100,000, get a degree in sound, and you're like, what the hell do I do with this shit?
Yeah, right? What can I really do with sound?
It's not a law degree, but I came right down to LA and I worked with Mark Mothersbaugh, who's, I don't know if a lot of people know him, but he was the frontman of Devo, the band Devo. They had that big song, Whip It, and he kind of got really into the film score thing.
Okay.
So with Wes Anderson movies, he was doing all the Wes Anderson, Rushmore, Royal Tenenbaums, all that stuff. And that's how I heard of him. And I came down and I worked with him for almost 5 years. So a lot of my job was like, I was head engineer over there. I was producing music. I was, working on, Everything Is Awesome, stuff like that.
That's so...
Yeah. It was crazy. And I got just like tons of credits under my belt in those 5 years,
Yeah.
And then I started Radium. So that's kind of where it spawned from, was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go do this on my own and, get my own credits on stuff. And,
But what really intrigued you about wanting to just get into sound design? It's rare, man.
I mean, it's not really sound design. Like, I'm more on the music side.
Got you.
It's more about composing, producing, mixing, mastering, engineering the music. So it's really like I'm in the studio. I mean, at least I used to be really heavy in the studio.
24/7, man.
Yeah, facts. Just know every single sound library, working on keyboards, guitars, basses, playing all the instruments, and singing even on like commercials and shit like that, and cutting records. That was like really what my passion, like that's where it started, I think, was music. So the engineering aspect is just kind of like, well, how do you make money consistently in music,
Yeah, and I've heard that, I mean, producing is very fun, but then engineering is kind of where the money's at. But I've noticed that
it's like
a lot
consistent,
of the... Yeah, because I've noticed that a lot of the engineers who I work with, they're just like, the engineering it's a good check.
Yeah, it's like this. It's like music, if you're making music, you're making songs, right? You're a creator, you're a writer. you're getting publishing, you're getting back end on mechanical payments on royalties and things like that. But if you're not big, you don't have enough records out there, you don't have enough, basically your shoe store with not enough shoes, right? You need inventory. So if you don't have inventory, why not help, make the shoes and get an hourly wage and get on projects?
I see what you're saying.
While you can like make some shoes in the meantime, and then like, I'll make a pair of shoes, but then I'll also help, design the shoes or whatever. Yeah. So, and that's kind of like the consistent paycheck is the engineering, but then like the points, the back end, the pat on the back, the brand recognition, all that shit.
That's all the artists.
That's in the production, in the writing, in the, being an artist, which is hard. I mean, that's a really rough thing.
It's rough, man. But I think it comes down to the type of person that you want to be. If you're able to expose yourself in front of a lot of people and be okay with the publicity, it's like, go ahead and do it. But, I feel like for a lot of us, we kind of just want to like kick back, live a normal life as much as possible.
Yeah, normal, I don't know what that is anymore, to be honest. Like, but I do want, like, I think as I got older in music, like I'm in my 30s now, like mid 30s. So when you get older, you start realizing like, shit, I made a lot of music that I didn't know how to monetize, and I should be getting a lot more checks in the mail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I start going, fuck, I need to like learn this stuff. And can I cuss on this?
Yeah.
But I'm like, shit. Just saying the F word for no reason.
Saying fucking everything, bro. Fuck.
Just because I can. But when you start going through it and you're like, man, I've been doing this for like 15 years, and then you're like, shit, why haven't I been seeing like consistent money growth as well? Because you do that in a job, right? You wouldn't go work for Intel and like go do 15 years with them and just be like, oh, I'm not making any more money. Why would you do that? You'd quit the job. You'd be like, there's no growth in this job.
Well, that's why I think in the industry we're in, it's beneficial if you can like make money off of your residuals.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not sure what your situation is between like Lego, 22 Jump Street, and all that. Like
it's all over the place.
Yeah, whether it was just like a one-time thing or if
And it depends. That's where the industry really gets you, because it's like, what kind of clout do you have? I mean, are you G-Eazy, or are you just a rapper nobody knows about?
Yeah.
It's really important, because, if you know even Gerald's story, it's like he put a lot of money into his stuff.
Yeah.
He was the first one to invest in him, and I think any business is like that. You're pulling money out of your pocket. And if you're not, you're going and finding investors that you're going to split shares with, right?
Yeah, shout out to the record labels.
You feel me?
That's literally what it is.
Yeah, like advances, there's nothing wrong with an advance. Take a goddamn advance and believe in what you're doing, but really make sure that advance says, like, I believe in what you're doing as well. I'm willing to take that bet on you as well.
Yeah.
And let's go into business, because that's what it should be. It should be a business partnership. So, yeah, the residual stuff, I mean, you got to really know what you're doing. You got to get your paperwork straight. You got to be lawyered up. Like, it's really important that you pay the lawyer his $200 to $500 an hour and get it done.
Yeah. So then for all the projects that you work on, does it kind of vary between projects? Like, do you get like residuals on one and then just like full payments on another?
100%. And I think a lot of the residual stuff has to do with, who are you working with and what are you working on and in what aspect, right? So, like, in what capacity? Like, if I'm mixing and mastering a record for an independent artist, I mean, there's no royalties on that.
Yeah, that's you might as well just get like your 500.
Yeah, it's done. Like you're going like 500 to $1,500, and you're like, all right, let's get this going. Let's make you a great record. And then you're like, but most of these artists don't have any business. You know what I'm saying?
What do you mean by that?
It's sort of like the independent artist game right now is just like. It's like if you could just have a shoe store. You could distribute shoes anywhere. I don't know why I got on shoes so hard.
You must love shoes,
so
man.
Weird.
What you got going
no. Dusty ass things. But, it's like if someone said, hey, all the storefronts are open all over the world, and just go pick one and start putting shoes up for sale. Okay, I can make shoes. Mm-hmm. Oh, and then also there's a machine over there. And you could just go print out some shoes and you can just go, start a business. Because that's what the music market is now. You got a computer? Oh, you got Logic Pro open right now, right? Hey, you got a song? Oh, do. I wrote a song, D, and I can distribute. CD Baby, DistroKid, whatever. Just upload.
Yeah.
Done. You just made a song, and now you're a distributor. Now you are a publisher.
Yeah. Now you're making money off of it.
But that's not a business. You get what I'm saying? Like, the business happens when you decide, okay, how much money am I going to put into this? How do I profit? When do I get out of red? When do I operate in black?
Got you. Okay,
you have to have
okay.
some sort of plan, right?
I get what you're saying because I think a comparison between then and now and what can happen, right? So back then, like, there weren't sites like DistroKid or CD
distribution
Baby.
platforms were
You know what I
not
mean? Like,
open like that.
people weren't looking at that. So then the idea of getting a record deal was like, oh, like, this is crazy.
It's insane.
But nowadays, because we have all of these assets in front of us, it's as easy for someone like myself to make a song and be like, boom, let me pay my $14, $15 for the year, and then let me just get the residuals. But if you think about it in this way, I guess what Bradley's saying is like, if you don't make that $15 back, it's like kind of like what was the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you go on Craigslist and sell some shit from your house, are you in business?
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
You know,
either.
but that's how the music industry is treated now. Is
Yeah.
that if you have a song, you can make a song right now and sell it. You're in business, and all of a sudden you're an artist, like you're a producer, you're whatever.
Yeah.
And you are if you want to be, but I don't consider that being in business or being an artist or producer. I think you have to have a plan. You know.
Yeah.
You have to have a release strategy. You have to be releasing records consistently or working on projects consistently. I mean, shit, dude, let's put it like this. It took me over 10 years really to say I'm a producer and say it proudly, or say I'm a composer and say it proudly, because back when I first started music, you know, it was almost like ridiculous to say, because I made some music on my computer, that I'm a producer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm a record producer. Like, if you're like, nah, bro, you're a poser. Like, people
That
wouldn't
makes sense.
handle that. They wouldn't deal with it back then.
So then does it really come down to, I guess, the credits that you have?
I think so. I think that's a huge, I mean, that's why they're credentials, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what other credentials do we have in the industry? We don't have, oh, you got a degree in being a music producer, now you're a music producer. It's not a doctorate. You're not a lawyer when you pass the bar. It's not that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot to do with your credentials. So if you have no credentials, are you a producer? Are you an artist?
Yeah, that's true, man, because I know a whole bunch of people who will go through school, like music production school,
facts.
and then not use it afterwards. But then, you know, like I literally just met this guy yesterday. Shout out to Garza. And, you know, he actually produced for Rex Life Raj and Russ for
Love
like the
Rex.
same song. You know what I mean? And I'm over here thinking like, bro, like, that's amazing. Like, how'd you start? He was like, bro, I literally just started in my room.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? But then, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, it's not until you get those credentials to where I think somebody can take you a little bit more seriously.
Facts.
Like, no, you know what? You actually are a producer
Yeah, you
because you're
produce
working
something.
with A, B, and C.
Yeah. And you made a product that's market viable. You know, like, you didn't just make a product. Like, okay,
Just to make a product.
I can go make a cake and I can go sell it. Am I a bakery? Am I, you know, like, I don't you know what I'm saying? Like,
Am I going to find you in front of the church,
like,
like, you know,
you
doing
feel
the
me?
big
Like,
sales and
big
whatnot?
sales, I can make a cake. You know, I read the recipe online. It's like,
Yeah.
it's the same thing with like YouTube, you know, go online, find out how to make a beat, put a beat up, and now I'm a producer. And I don't think, look, like, I'm not dogging that. Like, that's the beginning.
Yeah.
That is the start of becoming a producer, a record producer. It's like, call yourself a beat maker, call yourself a producer, call yourself whatever you want, right? Whatever's going to get you going and get your career going. It's just like us in the industry, the people that are actually with the credentials that we worked our ass off for. We spent the money, the time, we gave up time with friends, family, you know, shit got fucked up for us and we suffered a lot. It's like, damn. And then you could just come out and put a beat up, you know?
So then I got to ask you, how do you feel about a producer who can just, like, let's say the producer for Old Town Road.
Yeah,
the song just like blows up.
That's a great question, right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like, I do agree with you. The people who have been grinding it out for like 10, 15 years, you look at them and be like, well, these credentials are crazy. And then you just so happen to have like this hit
Right.
that just didn't make sense, but then it like blasted throughout the entire world.
It happens all the time, right? This is art still. And I think that there's a big difference between having a big song or two or a year or three and having a long-term career in music.
I agree.
I think that is the biggest thing. I mean, look at acting. This is a perfect example. Like, I came out, I was on this show when I was a kid, I made this movie, I was in the Goonies when I was a kid, you know? And then it's like, where'd you go? You don't have you're not an actor anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I think that is the key differentiator. And I think, like, when you do have something like a big record, you come out, you explode as a producer, that can hurt you really badly because you're not ready for it. You're not ready to follow it up with another single.
Yeah.
You're not ready to come out and go, holy shit, all these people want to work with me. And then you've never been in the studio in a professional setting. You don't know what you're doing so much. You got to learn really quick and you got to jump in. It might stress you out. It actually might give you mental health problems because people are expecting it of you.
Yeah.
We see it with child stars all the time,
Yeah.
right? Like the acting world.
That's true, because I mean, even if we take it in that route too, we'll have a Disney star, and then you'll look back and be like, well, what really happened to them afterwards?
Damn.
It's like, are you still an actor?
Yeah, facts.
Or what's the what,
Macaulay
what's the deal?
Culkin, that's like, there's so many examples of it.
Miranda Cosgrove.
Yeah, right?
You know,
just start spitting out.
I don't want to keep on digging like that. That's really everybody that I have to say.
Yeah, you don't want to go too deep down that list, man. But yeah, I think that's the big differentiator. I think, like, listen, if you get a big hit, you get a big record, it's like, hell yeah, good fucking job. And that's like, you should be proud of yourself, and people should be proud of you. They should be like, dude, I've never done that. I've never sold 3 million copies of a record or went and blown up like that with a record. So hell yeah, good job.
I gotta ask you, what's your opinion on type beats?
I mean, I'm cool with it. I think. Look, the type beat thing is like, it's sort of like a
love them.
It's yeah, love it.
Love hate.
It's a love hate for sure. I think. Yeah, that's. I have a lot of thoughts. About
because
that
the reason why I bring that up is the conversation I was having the other day is that people get stuck doing type beats and they're actually benefiting the original producer. So if you make like a DJ Mustard type beat, you know what I mean? People are looking at you like, oh, okay, well, this is what sounds like DJ Mustard, and they're not actually looking at the producer who made the beat.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's. The reason you would make type beats is because that's like a whole new industry that's spawned up. It's more e-commerce than music industry to me. It's sort of like...
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's like drop shipping, right?
Yeah.
Like for me, in my point of view, being in business, now I'm on both sides of the glass, right? Like I've been an artist. I've written songs. I've produced, but I've also I'm running a business, right? And like you're learning all that stuff. And I think at the end of the day, you go like, wow, once you start learning business, and you see like what you can do with the art and how that turns into commerce and how that's a marketplace and what you do with the music, etc. You start to see like where the type beat sort of stuff comes from. And that comes from distribution platforms like BeatStars and online beat sellers and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh shit, someone's making money selling beats online? And you don't have to be in the LA studio with the rapper or be with the labels or whatever. That's dope. And I always thought that was cool, right? It's just like the internet. The internet's going to change shit. Like Napster changed stuff, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Things change. It's the way it works. And a type beat, I think to me is like, an artist that's not, they're dabbling with artistry like we talked about. You're not really in business, but you rap some bars when you're high with your friends.
Yeah,
Like you
get a cool little 16.
Yeah, you spit some bars, I did it in college.
Yeah,
we get high and rap.
Man. We did it at the lunch table back in the day.
Facts. You're going to spit some freestyles. So when the internet comes around and you're like, shit, I want to find some beats online and stuff. And then all these kids are feeding that marketplace of like hobbyists, people that rap when they're high with their friends or at parties or hanging out. They're not dropping records. They don't need to, right? But maybe they could buy like a $20 beat lease.
Yeah.
And they could go like cut an EP with their friends and show their family, and it's like cool,
That's it. It's probably not
It's
going to
fun.
be a hit record, but it'll be fun.
But it might be. Who knows?
I think you're kind of proving the point that, because I have this conversation about an oversaturation of like artists, producers, and everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
100%.
you can simply you can buy like a cool little MIDI keyboard, get Logic, go at it, right?
I love it.
And people always bug me about like, but don't you think it's oversaturated? And I tell them all the time like, but these people aren't gonna last past 3 years.
Facts. It's not. It's not easy. This is probably the hardest industry ever in the entire world to work in and to thrive in, because it's just like pro sports, right? Like if you have a long career, like a Kobe Bryant career, you're a legend.
Yeah.
Right? In this game, if you have a Drake career, you're a legend, dude. But most kids going to come in, it's going to be like 2 years of hard build, and they're going to give up and get out of it.
Yeah.
Go back to their job.
What's made you want to keep it going for 10 plus years, man?
Dude, that is the question I ask myself every day. Like, what the fuck am I doing?
It's crazy. Like, just to put it into perspective, like Nipsey Hussle was going for like 10 plus years.
I'm telling you.
E40's been going for like damn near 2 decades
Yeah,
now.
and these guys are legends, right?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people don't even know me, right? I think the big differentiator for me and like what happened in my mind was that music is a lifestyle choice, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be in good shape. You're going to work out. That's your lifestyle, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You eat like this, you know? You go to the gym, you know?
Wow, that's crazy, man.
Right.
I talk to a lot of rappers, and a question that I always try to avoid is, you know, what do you think about like after rap, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of them come to me like, you know, acting. I want to do, you know, maybe I want to like own a restaurant, da da da.
Right,
and it's like
real estate. I
real
hear that a
estate,
lot,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Which is fine.
Great.
You know, it's cool, like, you know, but at the end of the day, it's like, so is your heart really in music, or is your heart really in like the money making business? Because
Yeah.
there's millions of ways to make money.
Facts. Music is probably the worst option, to be honest. No, truly. I mean, well, you know, it's a young man's game. Like, let's be real, right? Like, music has like a very short lifespan. If you're hot, and you better try and like make that last, and you better put that money into things that are going to pay back.
Yeah.
You know, you better think about investing in real estate. You better think about how you can make returns on that income.
But I think like it's kind of just falling back on a plan B at that point.
Yeah, I agree.
You know?
But I do think, though, like, it's just like pro sports where you could be signing a deal, right, where you're making $30 million a year in your prime, and then your knees start to go. You get hit hard, right? Like, you're not the hottest dude anymore. This other freshman came in, and he, you know, starting and came in and got drafted number 1, 2, 3. And then you're just like not that hot anymore. You got a little older. People are kind of like not on you. And then like, you know, Nike doesn't really fuck with you anymore. And this dude now got the Nike contract, etc. And I think that's the same thing in music. You gotta know when you're at your prime, when you're at your hottest, when you're at your peak. And you gotta be really smart about that, because when you're getting royalty checks and you're getting publishing and advances and things like that in the tens of thousands or even 6 figures or more, dude, that can fuck your mind up, right?
Yeah.
You're like, dude, I just made $1 million in a year, right? That's crazy. But it's just like sports players, they're not ready for it. Like, when you see that money from like, you go from like 50 grand a year to $1 million, you're ready like to spend 50K, but you got $1 million. You don't know what to do with it.
It's true, man. And it was funny because I actually just had this conversation with my Lyft driver yesterday. And he was like, hey, have you ever heard of that professional athlete who just blew off $100 million? Yes. And I was just like, what exactly do you have to do to blow off $100 million? Because I'm over here, I'm not even living in like a 6-figure realm right now. So I'm just like, and I'm cool, like I'm surviving, but I'm just like, I don't even know if I could blow off $1 million in a year. Like,
It's
what
just,
do you
that
have
would be so hard.
And, you know, to the point, it's just like when we get, I guess there comes a point in time in which you would believe that you're ready for all that money because the world just kind of seems endless at that point. Like, you know, I can do this, I can do that, blah, blah, blah. But
You don't want to be locked in.
yeah, you don't want to be locked into that, because the second all that's gone, it's like, well, how exactly did I make all that money again? Oh, wait, I can't even go back to that anymore because it's all signed away.
Yeah, if you, you know, the record industry and the way that that's all working is exactly that principle. It's like these guys get locked in when they're 18, 19 years old into pub deals that last 5, 10 years, right? And they're exclusive pub deals. So you're in a publishing deal because someone waved some advance in front of you, right?
Here's $50K.
Yeah,
You know.
$50K, bro. That's a big deal. Someone
Yeah.
came out of like working at McDonald's, or you came out working minimum wage or just a little above it, and then all of a sudden someone wants to give you a bag of $50K right up front.
Yeah.
You don't even know what that means. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're like, fuck yeah, 5 years, $50K, woo!
So then, pertaining to your life, how did you go about that? Like, our
Just stay away from
stayed away
exclusive deals. Yeah, like anything exclusive is gonna hold you in, right? Like you're literally saying, I want to go into partnership business with you for 5 years, right? 10 years. Like you and I and what we're doing, you have to be in love with building that. You can't be thinking, I want to have my own artistry career and I want to release my own records.
Yeah,
And
I
you
hear
can't think
you.
like that. You got to think, I want to build a publishing catalog with Warner. I want to do this with you. I want to really build this up.
Yeah.
And at the end of 5 years, like I want to be up there and thinking about how we can keep that business going.
Yeah.
You know?
So you've avoided at all costs from like signing anything.
Yeah. Because like truly, like, I mean, you know, composers, producers, we got it pretty good. Right. Like, it's not,
I feel like the composers and the producers are much more long lasting than the artists.
Facts.
Shout out Timberland, you know.
We can be you know, Hans Zimmer like in his 60s and be like just crushing it and have a team of people working with you that are making residuals for you, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, sort of like, I guess, creative directing.
And I guess at the same time, too, it's because the producers are not in front of the camera.
Facts.
Like, I was talking to, I talked to a lot of people. I was at this bar the other day.
Right?
You know what I mean? So I was at this bar the other day, right? And the guy sitting next to me, he was an actor. I forgot what movies he was in, but I told him, I was like, you know what's cool about the acting realm is the fact that if you're 55 years old, you're not worried about hungry 16-year-old just getting into the business, right? But if you're a musician, I remember seeing Wendy Day saying, if you're past 25 and you're trying to make music,
It's tough.
you know, it's kind of tough because you have to relate to the kids. You have to look like they want to be like you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? But so to kind of relate acting and producing / composing, it's like you don't necessarily have to be in that like limelight of like youth.
Yeah, facts.
You can just keep on going until you're 60, 70.
Totally. And I think that's probably the best part about being a composer, producer, engineer, you know, is that you're literally able to do whatever you want. Completely non-exclusive, you know. You can go sign a pub deal for a record. You know what I mean? Like a 5-song EP. You don't have to go and like sign your life away and be like, yeah, okay, I'm stuck doing this and I can't make beats or write for anybody else. You know, so that's really nice. And also like we're collecting royalties, publishing on all sorts of stuff with all sorts of artists and on TV shows and on commercials and on movies. And you think about all those income streams. Now, that's not to say that an artist can't make a lot more a lot quicker, right? It's just that like the composing, the producing is like a long game. And if you look at music, and maybe that goes back to like you talking about artists like really like being like, well, my exit strategy. It's like when you're a composer, producer, engineer especially, like you're in it because you got like that music lifestyle thing. You know, you're like, that's my lifestyle. I like going to the studio. I like grinding it out. I do 10, 15-hour days. That's what I do. I like to create all day. Right? I don't like to go to the parties, smoke the blunts, you know, be seen, get all the, you know,
like,
the flash, you know.
For the gram.
Like I did, you know, I did when I was 18, 25, you know what I'm saying? But
you're much wiser now.
Right, but you know, now I'm so wise. Yeah. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that far, but you know, like I think that's a big part of it. I think it's like you have this long-term like trickles of money that you're building and catalogs of music and publishing and all that and upfront fees and all that stuff. And you're trying to just have all these different income streams that can then, you know, be your residual income and your stuff that's going to last you your career. Because that's what you spend your time building as a producer, especially is like you're trying to get so much work out there that matters that it's going to go get sync licensed. It's going to go get, you know, more publishing money. It's going to stream. It's going to do this. And there's going to be all these different income sources that then you get to a certain age and you go, well, I could just work on whatever music I want to work on. Maybe you do want to do an artist album, you know?
So the good old question of quality versus quantity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a hard one always.
It's really hard right now because even Russ put this video out the other day in which he was like, yeah, for an entire year, I was releasing one song a week.
That's crazy.
And, you know, like the residual checks just became crazy.
Yeah, that's a good move, though, I think.
I think so, too. Because, I mean, my whole thing is, like, I think at the end of the day, we would all want to push out quality, quantity.
Facts.
You know, but
Both.
then, like, how do you differentiate between, like, I'm over here increasing my catalog versus this is something that I really actually love to do?
Yeah. I think when you're first starting out, you're in like Russ was probably in like, you know, 3 years in, 5 years in, whatever. I don't think he was like really far deep into music at that point. So that's a great strategy for him. You got to get product going, right? You got to get people paying attention. You're going to drop every week. They're going to start relying on you. You're consistent. You know, you're like the store down the street. It's open 9 to 5, Monday through Saturday, right? And you know you can go there. But you feel me? Like that's super important. Like the consistency, your artistry, your fan base is going to grow because they're going to go, dude, you got to check this guy out. He tours. He comes to our city, like every 6 months. He's dropping a song a week, right? Then you start building your brand and your name. You're being seen a lot more and heard a lot more. For an artist like Drake, dumb idea, right? Because if you start dropping once a week, and I heard Gary Vee say, like, if I was Drake, I'd drop every day. And it's like, I think that's dumb.
No.
Because, you know, and no shade to Gary, he's a fucking genius. But, you know, when it comes to the music industry, this is a different game, right? This is a different world. And if you're Drake and you're dropping every week, people are like, yo, we already know you, dude. Like spend the time crafting records, right?
Yeah.
Because people can start to get tired of you. And you know, and they start to go like, yeah, we don't need another Drake record.
Yeah,
right?
like I guess at that point it doesn't really make it that special anymore.
Yeah, it's not special, right?
I mean, even like this past year, like you can tell when it was a Drake song and then the song was just given to the artist, like, and you know the artist ends up blowing up not because the song was good, but because like Drake was on it.
Had a feature on it.
Yeah, they got the
Drake made the song.
Yeah, for sure.
Facts.
You know, and I'm not even gonna go down like the list of all these songs that I know off the top of the head that were just like that. But
you get into the Drake conversation, it's like the Steve Jobs conversation.
But it's like it's kind of like when you're at that level of Drake, or I'll use Timbaland as an example again, or even like a Hit Boy. It's like make your music more special, make it like a gold mine. Like you can't like one of the greatest people who does this in the music industry today is Andre 3000.
Yes.
You'll find him on a Frank Ocean album randomly. You'll
Randomly. You'll find him on Kanye's album, you know?
Yeah, and you're just like, wow, I haven't heard like an Andre 3000 verse in like 6 months.
Right. And you're like, shit. And then you just go stream the crap out of it because you just want to keep hearing it, you know? It makes you hungry for the next thing. I also think like if you're a pretty well-known, established artist and you like are dropping a lot, it starts to say, what I just dropped doesn't matter that much. This one matters. And you're like, well, that one doesn't matter anymore. This one matters. And you start to like dilute your songs, right? Mm-hmm. Because a song can be really worked for years, dude. Like it can be remixed. You can do different versions of it. You can push it in different ways. It can then get onto a movie and get another life, you know, syncing it, whatever. But I mean, that song needs to be worked.
Yeah. That's how Truth Hurts like ended up blowing up. You know, that's also how Mo Bamba ended up blowing up. Yeah. Like that song was like a year old.
Dude, think about it. Like the big songs.
Have you seen like a song from something that you've worked on kind of trickle that way?
Yeah, you know, like there's been a lot of stuff. I mean, Everything Is Awesome was a huge weird thing because it was like for me, I'm like working in movies and it's like that was a record that I was like producing on and I was recording, you know, Tegan and we were doing all this stuff in the studio and then I was like, wow, this song is so annoying. It's so fucking annoying, right? And you're just like, you're hearing it over it, you know, and that was kind of the point of it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, but then you realize like at the time we didn't know that Lego Movie would do anything. Like this is a big risk. Mm-hmm. We're like, yeah, maybe it'll be good, maybe not. Maybe it'll just flop.
Probably in like my top 10 movies of all time.
But you get what I'm saying though? Yeah. Like when you're working on it, nobody knows that. We're just hoping, you know, we're like, oh, I hope this is a big deal, right? And then it like dropped and then Everything Is Awesome became like a song that people actually wanted to hear. And I found that out when I had Tegan and Sara's management hitting me up going, hey, we need all the like stems so we can do show versions of Everything Is Awesome because they're going on tour. They're going on a world tour and their audience really wants to hear that on tour. And I'm like, the Lego Movie song?
Yeah, right.
Like, fuck that. You know what I mean? But for me, like, you know, that's a testament to the art being completely subjective. Right? I don't get to choose what's hot. Mm-hmm. You don't get to choose what's hot. Yeah. I mean, we all decide what we like, you know?
But I think as an artist, like today, especially if you're just starting out, it's like you just got to throw something at the wall, see what sticks.
Throw some paint at the wall. Try to figure out your sound. That's the big thing. Everyone first coming out always sounds like their influences. You know, they sound like a type beat. You know what I mean? You're like, I hear what you're doing, man. Stop listening to so much Drake. You know, like it just comes out through the records. As a producer, it's boring, but as a fan base, I would say it's a good look because then you can, you know, use Facebook ads. You can use certain targeting tools online to then promote your stuff to people that like that you sound
All
like.
you need is
right?
like $5.
Yeah. And
Nothing
artists
crazy.
need to be real with themselves, right? They need to be super honest with themselves. I do sound like Drake. You know, he is my influence, and Andre 3000 is my influence, so that you can then build marketing campaigns and things to promote that music, because that's how you're going to get a fan base. That's how they're going to show up to your show, and then you can start to get your own voice, right? Like you sound a little bit like Drake and Andre 3000, but now how do you do that like how you do it as your artistry, and then take those fans with you, you know?
That's always the question.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really tough. And you know, you don't want to go too left field, because then you scare everyone away and they're like, this is too eclectic, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like being too niche.
Yeah, it's like eccentric and weird, and people are like, I don't know what he's trying to do there. It doesn't sound like Drake. You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, Lil Nas X, like that song, but even Panini is like, these songs like are very
completely different.
Yeah, they're very different, but they have so many influences in them that people understand what they are. You know, like they hear the references, they hear the influences throughout those songs, and that's what drives people to a song. They're like, "Wow, this reminds me of."
Yeah.
Fill in the blank.
I've been drawing a blank. What was the biggest hit from The Lonely Island?
Oh man, they had a lot of fun.
They had a couple, right?
They had
Was
some-
that the one? Did they have Jizz in My Pants?
Yeah, just
Okay.
They had a bunch of funny shit, but I think they won Grammy for
What did you work on with Lonely Island?
Everything's Awesome. So that was like the
it
major
just keeps
thing.
on coming back to that.
It
song.
just because that was the song that really I think started was probably the most successful for me. But it's not like obviously like my favorite or anything. But with Lonely Island, that's the only thing I've ever worked on with them. And the reason is because like we were like really collaborative with that, because they were, you know, they're producers as well.
So how'd the idea come about?
It was actually a song that was written by a writer like years ago, and it was just this like really cheesy songwriting on it, you know? It was like really cheesy. So then so when I was working with Mark, like we're like, okay, we need to produce this and make this like a modern dubsteppy EDM, like super sugared out like pop record that
Like if it's gonna be cheesy, we just gotta
go
make it more
really
cheesy.
cheesy.
Go really cheesy.
Facts, yeah. So that was kind of where it came about. It was already kind of picked. I think they actually probably made the Lego movie around the song. I think that's really what like inspired like the ideas and the writing. You know what I mean?
That's insane.
Which is huge, right? That's why the song was so important and so paramount. So, but yeah, that was crazy, because you start to understand like how those guys work, and it's a team effort. But it's like Akiva, the dude with the glasses, like he's the guy that really runs the shit, and he's like the big producer in that group, I think, you know, and the biz guy. He's the guy that's like on the phones, like.
Jesus Christ, man. He does just a little bit of everything,
He does
man.
everything, man.
I can't imagine what that space would have been like, just trying to make such a super cheesy,
it was so tough.
viral song, man.
And you know, that was like at the point where dubstep was like, I think, crescenting out to going back down, right? So it was a really weird time. It was like dubstep was like at its peak, and it was just starting to go back down and fall off. So we were like just catching that crest. You know what I mean?
Oh, like right before it
really just dropped down to like Britney Spears doing dubstep and everyone going, fuck all this, right? But at that time, it was like, you know, Skrillex, and people were like, yeah, we got to get that sound. We got to get that sound. And, you know, we were pulling up synthesizers and things that like nobody knew about, that I was like finding online, you know, stuff like, I was like, shit, this looks dope. Oh, this is made like with dubstep stuff in mind. You know?
Yeah.
Before, I think even like Serum wasn't even there yet. I'm just
It sounds like you kind of have to experiment with the newer sounds that people don't necessarily touch. Yeah. I see, like my one producer friend, shout out to Dela, he has the Omnisphere.
Yeah,
and he'll just like scroll all the way down to like some random archive that people don't touch, and I'm just like, that sounds dope, because I don't hear it anywhere.
Exactly.
How do you go from something like Everything Is Awesome and then continue to produce for like a G-Eazy, like, you know what I mean? Because like those are two totally different sounds. So how do you like draw the line?
Yeah, that's been like, I'm super ADD, dude. Like, I think like I just love art, you know? So it's not just music. It's not just engineering. It's not just sound design. It's like, it's all those things. It's songwriting. It's everything. So, I mean, I've done singer-songwriter stuff. I've done, you know, stuff that's kind of like borderline country. trap records, R&B records, all that stuff. So I think the big thing is just to stay completely open-minded about the music and make good songs, right? And I like to work in a team effort. I hate the idea of like sitting down at a computer and programming beats. That's not like, to me, that's not fun.
Yeah.
I get that that's like the modern production way, but it's not fun for me, so I won't do
There's
it.
some snares.
Yeah, okay. And it's like literally like, people clicking on mouses all day. Like,
Yeah.
okay, there's a fire beat.
That's why it's a different atmosphere whenever I have like a guitarist in the room or like a legit pianist. I'm just like, wow, I could actually feel the music happening.
Totally.
And I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but then I remember a Toki Monster interview, right? And she was saying that she would go to like the beach, sample some sounds.
That's dope.
And her reasoning behind it was that I want to make people feel like they're at the beach. And I'm just like, it's crazy because once you understand like where everything is coming from, you get this like ineffable feeling of like, I'm not at my apartment listening to this song. Like I feel like I'm somewhere else. Yeah, it's an escape.
It's like reading a book or watching a movie, You need that suspension of disbelief. And I think that's like, if you're really in music for the long term, you have to love that idea of like escaping and like painting pictures. Whether you have a picture to work with to or not with the music has to be something that can paint a picture or put you somewhere, Like,
yeah.
And I think that's like the love of it, like being able to go like, yeah, everything is awesome and work on score stuff. And, like Cannon Busters, the anime, like the intro title, the outro title, shouts to Mansa, Imani, and Marty Grimes and Bjornick.
Shout out Marty Grimes.
Yeah, like the Bay family.
Did you guys go to Expression together?
Yeah, that's how I met Marty. And
see, that's what I figured, man. Because as soon as you said Expression, I was like, wait, I know one cat that went to Expression.
Yeah, Marty's the brother. Like he's literally like family. But he introduced Kevin, my production partner, KDE. Shouts to KDE. To Gerald, and that's like when when Gerald was like,
he
was like, Gerald was like playing like 200 people, at a show in like Oakland or something.
Yeah.
So that was crazy. I remember one day Kevin and I were at the Guitar Center in like Berkeley or something, Oakland, I don't know, but Marty and Gerald walked in, and like I didn't know Gerald at the time or anything, and they're like, yeah, Marty's like, yeah, he's looking for a microphone. What do you guys recommend? And I'm like, well, I mean, like, what are you doing, And like, oh, like rap and stuff. And that's when he was doing like the doo-wop kind of beats and stuff. And he was producing himself and everything. Super talented. And we're at like Guitar Center. I'm like, yeah, man, you should get the little blue baby bottle. It's like $500. Great mic,
the one you could kind of just like,
the
legs, open it up on the table.
Well, yeah, like, it's like a little bit better than that one. But it was funny. It was like, okay, yeah, this is your friend Gerald, like, and then it's like, it was just crazy. Like, go watch a show. He's like showing like 200 people at the crowd. And then like a couple of years would go by and there's like 1,000 people in the crowd. And then it's like, whoa, what the fuck, man? Like just things scale.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like part of the, like for me, it's like seeing that, like when you're locked in and you know exactly what you want, you have the vision, you're going to be a great producer. You're going to be a great artist. You're going to be a great business person.
It goes back to the plan you were talking about earlier, man. It's the plan.
Facts. And you got to see that. You got to see the end result. You really have to like see what that looks like in the end. You have to be like, this is what it looks like, and then this is the color of the walls, and like the synth, how it's going to sound and how it's going to feel, and all that shit. And then when you get in the room with the beat maker that clicks in stuff, you can sit there and you can produce, right?
Yeah.
And like a lot of this stuff I like to do is exec. I like to be like, yo, I really like that. Let's try this. And then, maybe we need to get this guitar player on it. And then, dude, it'd be dope as if we did this. And then I'll get in, I'll do some engineering, I'll do some sound design stuff. And, I'll let people do what they do best. Like, I don't sit and program beats the best, right? But maybe like I'll help with the writing session or the vocal production, or just like knowing what the end is. Like, what's the end? And I mean all the way through. And you have to know, like, you have to have the vision for how it's released. What does a music video look like, Like, what is the vibe around it? What shirt would you be wearing in the music video?
Got you.
And, like, what is this whole, like, grand scheme? What's the picture like, What's the movie like? Because that used to be a big thing in hip-hop. Man, it was a movie, man. That was a movie.
People still say that, man.
They still say it, right. But that's the whole idea, I think, of being a great producer, great director, great creative in anything. I mean, in business, you have to be creative, right?
Yeah.
You have to be like, shit, this isn't working. How do we pivot? How do we make it work? What do we tweak? What do we change? What do we not like about the logo, the design, etc. And you're constantly evolving things. You're never saying this is good enough.
So then how do you know, like, if the idea is getting to the end goal, right, and knowing what the end goal is, how do you know when the Charmander is maxed out and it's a Charizard now?
Yeah.
If you get the reference.
Yeah. I don't. But
okay.
Yeah.
How do you know? Shout out to Pokemon, man.
Shout out to Pokemon.
But how do you know, like, you've fully evolved something?
Yeah, you never do. And that's the whole point, right? It's like that's why you become a producer, a composer, an artist, is because you're a constant growing, evolving creation. You're organic. Everything you do is organic. And if you're that's the hardest part about the business side, right? You're making market viable productions, a product. You have to be able to produce a product that's market viable, that you can sell, stream, make music videos around, promote, etc. And you're always just abandoning it when it's due, or you're deciding when a cutoff time is, when it's done. It's never done, though. Because look, like if you're working on something and time is just always constant, it's always going, it's never stopping, you're always going to be able to improve it. So you wake up tomorrow, you're in a different mood, you want to change the snare.
Yeah.
The next day, you're going to want to change something. The next day, it's not good enough. This is the worst thing that can happen to an artist, is they get stuck in that. And that's why they need guidance. That's why they need producers. It's why they need management, why they need labels going like, hey, I need 3 albums by these dates, and these are the release times and schedules. Because, you're going to abandon your records, and then later you're going to go, I can't even listen to that song anymore, Like, I don't want to listen to that because I know how much better it could be. But that's fine. You put it into your next song. You put it into your next project. And that's the ultimate goal, I think, as an artist, is you have to see the vision of what that looks like also. Like, it's not just this song or this record. It's like, you got to be like, 3 records in, like, I got some ideas.
So what exactly do you see, like, for yourself as, like, the end goal? Because between, like, the Netflix stuff, the Lego movie stuff, it's like, how much more can you do up until you're like, I'm satisfied?
I'll never be satisfied. I think satisfied means I'm bored, or, there's nothing left for me to learn. And it's impossible in music, because music is so threaded into technology. It's so threaded into culture. It's threaded into society. It's threaded into psychology, into emotions, into human nature and how we evolve. And the sounds will evolve. The technology will evolve. We'll be using a lot more AI within the technology.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this right now because I want this to be documented. I think it's really important that it's going to happen a lot faster than anyone can even believe. Like,
oh yeah, I heard like some record labels even have machines that are just producing like harmonies and melodies, and people are already like copywriting those things.
Facts. But I think that's going to, just like anything, it's going to cause a lot of new laws to come about, and a lot more issues as well that we haven't foreseen, right? So it's already happening with like splice loop melodies and stuff. Like people are like, publishers are like flagging those samples because they heard it in a bigger song, and then some composer, some producer released a track, and then it gets flagged because it's like it hears this and it goes, "No, you copied that," even though
they probably didn't even copy it,
and even though technically that splice melody loop or harmony loop or chord progression or whatever it might be is completely royalty free, not necessarily, and that's where the lines I think are going to get really blurred. But I really think it's going to happen within 2 years.
But I think that's why producers kind of need to take that Toki Monster route that I was talking to you about.
Facts.
Like, you know what I mean? You can't sample. You can't have the exact same sample that you got from the ocean.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, I can do this.
Right.
That's a kick. But then I can do this too. It's two totally different things.
Totally different. And the way you mic it and the way you capture it, it's all so unique. And sonic signatures of anything. Like you could take a melody loop off Splice and just fuck it up a little bit.
I mean, I've seen it already, man. Like 2 artists who I've had on here, I listened to their albums front to back, and I was just like, one song on both of their albums had the exact same guitar riff. And I'm like,
it's crazy.
Exact. I'm like, yo, this is nuts. Yeah. This is why I kind of warn like new producers. I'm like, look, like, Splice is cool to kind of just like
ideas
get some ideas going, but it's like what you really want to do is you want to make sure you get sounds that are really your own.
Yeah, facts.
Do that, and once you can do that, like you become the producer that is Bradley Denniston.
Or someone way bigger than me. You get to be the Pharrell. You get to be the person that they come to for that sound. And I think that's kind of like the goal always as an artist, is to have your own sound. If you're a producer, you're an artist. If you're an engineer, you're mixing records, you're an artist. If you're a recording engineer, you're an artist. Everyone's an artist. So I think it's always funny too. Like, I think that line is going to get completely blurred as well. Like, people being like, I'm an artist. It's like, what does that mean? You know? Like, do you produce? Do you
paint?
Yeah, do you paint? Do you sculpt? Like, we're all artists. Like, don't ever get that twisted. And I think production now, I was talking to Mansa about this. It's like production now is becoming very much not a creative endeavor. It's not creative anymore. It's much more of an analytical brain computer programming.
I hear you.
And that's fine. It's just like the intellects are going to take over the production scene. The AI, the computers, the people that can click together a beat in 5 minutes, and go like, that's actually a really dope musical piece, right? Like, those are the people that are winning right now. And if you really pay attention, the tech companies own the music industry, not the record labels. You feel me? Where do you listen to music?
Spotify,
right,
off the phone.
It's a tech company.
That's so crazy to me.
And the tech companies deal with the record labels, and the tech companies are winning.
The reason I'm so in shock right now is because I've been in a couple sessions where everything is very analytical.
It is 100%.
Right, like whether you have the songwriter in here who has like crazy credits, and she's like, oh, okay, well, you need to do it like this way because
it's the formula.
There's like a formula to things, and I've found that once there's like a formula, it's like, does it really make it fun anymore?
It's not creative.
It's not creative.
That's the opposite.
Like,
of
you can
creativity.
you can get the hit record off of it, but then it's not something that'll make me that'll move me.
Right.
It's not something like locked in my archives that I just want to listen to like all day. It's like, it just so happens that that's one song that a lot of people liked at that one time.
Absolutely. And that right there that's my answer, I guess, to when would I be satisfied, is probably when music becomes so program-based and AI computers doing it to the point where it's not really a business anymore that's creative and the industry's not creative. I'll be doing it for fun. I'll be playing a guitar on the beach. I won't be fucking with music like that. It's just not fun.
Yeah.
You don't get into music because you want to be analytical and program. You got into it. I got into it because I wanted to throw paint at the wall. I wanted to fuck shit up, and I wanted to, have girls pay attention. let's be real.
Bradley Denniston, everybody.
You know what it is.
We're ending on that note, man.
Okay. Cut.
Where can everybody find you?
Bradley HD on IG. I'm also on Facebook, same shit, LinkedIn. I'm everywhere, man, because I run business.
You got to be.
Run business, baby. But yeah, the Radium Podcast, you got to go check out our podcast as well. We got to get you on an episode of the Radium Podcast.
We got to go, man. You know, before we dip out, you said you decided to produce, compose, and you wanted to put everything under Radium Media, right?
Yeah.
So then, how long has Radium Media been going on for, and what's your goal for that?
Yeah, so we've been in business for a little over 3 years now. The studio in Hollywood, California, we're in the media district over by Titmouse. That's been there. We've had that for right around 3 years. And the biggest goal is to build like-minded group of people that are, really thinking creatively, but also working on projects that are culturally shifting and pushing the boundaries of what this can all do. When we picked up Cannon Busters, LaShawn Thomas is also family, right? He came to me and we did like a pitch. It was like a pilot for the show that was kickstarted, and it raised like $180,000 to do an 11-minute version of it. Then was picked up by Netflix. 12 episodes. We scored all the music. We did needle drop stuff. We did all sorts of production in it, but we scored all the background music as well. And that was a team effort, And you want those people around you that can see that vision. And the biggest thing about Cannon Busters that mattered to me, and why I even don't talk about a lot of stuff I work on, is because I only want to talk about the stuff that push culture, right? Mm-hmm. And Cannon Busters very first truly black anime, right? African American, made, produced. All the leads are, colored people. And I was saying colored people by they're all nations and all nationalities, right?
Wow.
So it's not just to Africa, but it's you got to watch the show. It's really important. There's female leads in it. All the actors, it's just a beautiful piece of work. And this was something that LaShawn studied up. He's very studied on. He's very, he's very educated on the whole thing. He did everything on purpose, So if you're watching the show and you're paying attention, you understand where the music is coming from as well. Everything we produced for it, for the intro and outro titles was R&B, the rhythms are jazz, blues, funk kind of stuff. And it was just very
You're doing a really good job marketing this right now.
Yeah, well,
I'm actually going to watch it as soon as we're done.
You have to, man. If you fuck with anime, if you like Cowboy Bebop, Space Dandy, any of those classics, it's a huge love letter to that. It's to those 90s classic animes, but it's fresh, and it was just such a privilege to work on the music, and I felt a sense of responsibility for it because, LaShawn and I were just going back and forth, and he'd be showing me sketches and yo, here's the mock-up of the mech and all this stuff, and it was just okay, I got to be careful with this. I got to actually be able to craft something that, just isn't just some pop bullshit that I just threw together because, we wanted to make a bunch of money or something.
Yeah.
It was it really
Don't
meant
go for the
something.
formula.
You feel me? So, and there is stuff, of course, that's friendly and fun in it, and it's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be this really deep anime. But that is, in essence, what Radium really is to me, is it's doing stuff that matters, It's doing stuff that makes people think or chase or go fuck, It's not about just going and copying what everybody's doing to try to make $1. It's man, I've spent plenty of money and I've borrowed tons of money to get the company and keep the company going. And at the end of the day, it's because I want to just keep doing stuff that matters.
Yeah. You love it.
Yeah.
And it's for the culture.
It's the culture. It's the shift of, it's music has to be art. And, if we start shifting over to programming and everybody's, throwing things through Lander and splice loops, and it's just not fun anymore.
Well, that's when we'll find you on the beach with your guitar.
but it may, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just gonna take it. Everything shifts, right? It'll just start a new thing. Artists will go somewhere else. They'll do something else,
Yeah, we'll get the holograms all day, every day.
That's right.
This is the Lunch Table, Food for Thought. I'm Nico Blitz, Bradley Denniston, and we are out, everybody.
Thanks for having me, man. Awesome, dude.